even the Gun Hill, from Freeman Street to Prospect Avenue, Fordham Road, Co-op City to Elder Avenue, Valley Park, Eaton Wall to Bronx River, Bronx Deal, Soundview, S-Bar, baby. I'm boogie down like this Choke King, Mario within the playground.
Hey everybody in podcast land, and here at The Artist we have a wonderful crowd for this very extraordinary program with these very extraordinary musicians. Hi everybody, I'm Gary Axelbank. It's time for the Bronx Music Podcast. This is episode 19, and our guests are incredible violists. I don't even think I ever used that word before. Violist, I pronounced it right?
Yes.
There we go. Chihiro Allen, please applause. Thank you. And Shmuel Katz. This is our 19th episode, and we started this because, and I've said this a number of times on this program, but it's very important to note, I believe that music is the subtext, is the underpinning of everybody in the Bronx. And there's not a neighborhood in the Bronx that would say, oh no, we don't want music classes for our kids, or we don't want the opportunities. And people in the Bronx come from all over the world, and they bring their music with them. And that's why we do this, because we represent the BX, and that's why we do it. So this is the first time we have ever had classical musicians, and we are beyond thrilled. Now, don't laugh when I do this, because it's crazy. Here we go. Their credentials, really? Here's Chihiro Allen, a viola associate for the Met Orchestra. Just hang in there. Joined the New York City Ballet Orchestra in the spring of 2017, Metropolitan Opera Orchestra, the Sado Kinen Orchestra of the Seiji Ozawa Festival in Matsumoto, Japan. Did I get that right? The Mostly Mozart Orchestra, has been a member of the San Francisco Ballet Orchestra, assistant principal violist at the Valencia State Opera Orchestra of Spain, and this isn't all. 2006-2008, she received the Music Award from the New York Japanese American Association, made her first recital appearances at Carnegie Hall's Weill Recital Hall. Chihiro Allen. When you have a really good resume, would you let us know? All right, Shmuel Katz, Associate Principal Violist of the Metropolitan Opera, Principal Violist of the American Ballet Theater Orchestra and the Mostly Mozart Festival Orchestra, Principal Violist of the Pennsylvania Ballet, member and guest Principal Violist of the New York City Opera. Hang out, we'll be here a while. Member of the Orchestra of St. Luke's, also appeared as concertmaster and soloist with the Orpheus Chamber Orchestra in Carnegie Hall. That's a little place in New York, you might have heard of it. And toured with the orchestra across Europe, Asia, and North America. Also performed as a guest violist in the London Philharmonic Orchestra, the English Chamber Orchestra, the Philadelphia Orchestra, and a little organization called the New York Philharmonic. Shmuel Katz. When do you sleep?
That's a very good question. Yeah.
So let's just get into it. Does that embarrass you to hear that? Both of Chihiro, we'll start with you. Is it a little crazy when you look back at all that?
Yeah, I guess some of the stuff I did years ago, and I don't really think about it anymore.
So it's my fault. Yeah, I get it.
But yeah, I guess, I don't really think about how much I've done in my career, because I'm just so busy focused on what's happening today. What am I rehearsing tomorrow? What am I performing tonight?
When we first met on the phone and through the various means of communications, you were always saying to me, oh, well, I got to leave. I'm going, and I got to get to Carnegie Hall, or I got to get to Lincoln Center, and you were always busy. I'm going to ask you the same questions in a moment. Chihiro, what moved you to the viola? Now, let's see, you born in New York, raised in Japan. She lives on City Island, as a matter of fact. That's worth some applause, too. Began playing the violin at age 6 and the viola at age 17. So what started you on the violin? And then we'll talk about the viola.
So when I was a little kid, I was inspired by some friends who were taking violin lessons.
In Japan?
This was we were living in St. Louis at the time.
Okay. That's another foreign country from the Bronx, but that's okay.
And then my family moved to Japan when I was 7 years old, and I continued violin lessons. And when I was 17, I joined a youth orchestra in Tokyo, and they asked me to play the viola.
What is it? What was it about the instrument or the music that made you say, this is something I have to do?
I guess
Because many kids are told to take lessons and all that, and okay, and then they go out about their lives, and it's nice that they did it, but they don't stick with it.
it was the experience in the orchestra that I really enjoyed, playing the inner voices of the whole sound of the orchestra. So we tend to play more the supporting voices.
Because of that instrument.
Yeah, the range of the viola is not the lowest, it's not the highest. We don't get heard very well. So sometimes when we have a special moment that a composer wrote for the viola section, we really need to play out. But I really enjoyed the harmonic, getting into the harmonic experience of not playing the top line like the violins do. And I really liked the warm sound of it, and I ended up completely switching to viola after, for a while, playing both the violin and the viola.
I just think that's absolutely fascinating that you didn't want to be the sound at the top, so to speak, but you liked being the undercurrent. So I used the word subtext before. And last question for you, and then we'll bring Shmuel into the dialogue. Did you learn about classical composers or the music, along the way, or that was just kind of one of the tools you used because you were learning to play this instrument?
Sorry, can you?
Yeah, what I'm saying is, at what point did you look at the music itself and say, I love the music, but it sounds to me like the sound of the instrument was what really compelled you?
Yes, and I got to play a lot of great music in youth orchestra. I remember the first symphony I played was Tchaikovsky's Fifth Symphony, and it was so hard. I couldn't even read the viola clef at the time, and I had to practice really hard. But great orchestration, but it wasn't just the composer. It was really the whole musical, orchestral experience.
I'm motivated by the fact that you were driven to do that. That to me, that germ is what really is most fascinating to me. Shmuel, what about you? You started playing at an early age. I don't have that detail.
I ran out of space. The problem with the resume is that they ask for one page. One page is,
No, I had plenty of paper, but
yeah, I know for you, for job interviews, etc. I started actually on the recorder when I was 6 years old.
The recorder.
Yeah. But as a little kid, I was asthmatic. My mom, and dad smoked a lot. So my teacher told me at a certain point, he said, maybe it's time to find an instrument that's
not a wind instrument.
Yes.
Wow.
So he suggested classical guitar, which, now I'm thinking about it, would have been fun, and violin. And my parents bought me 2 LPs. That's the black circle thingies that we used to have.
Vinyl, it's called vinyl now.
Vinyl, sorry.
Right.
Yeah. Vinyl, it's for allergies, no? Yeah,
That's
vinyl
another
allergies.
story.
Anyway, I went with
That's
the
for a
violin.
different podcast.
Yeah, right. I went with the violin. It was a Tchaikovsky violin concerto with Jascha Heifetz playing, and I just couldn't stop listening to that. So I started playing violin at age probably 7.5, 8, not that young. And I went with that. And you were asking what was the moment you decided it would be a career or a life. When I was 12, I grew up in Israel. And when I was 12, I was told that I was accepted to do some little tour, invited by some Jewish organization in the U.S. And I flew into New York. And
At what age again?
12.
12, wow.
Yeah, getting on a TWA flight.
That was flapping its wings.
It was flapping wings. Yes, I was helping. So we were in Chicago and in Washington, D.C.
And you were part of a group, an
it
orchestra?
it was a string trio. It was just 3 kids and
Wow.
one adult with us, just kind of carrying around our stuff. And it was an incredible experience. I mean, for me as a little kid in Israel, when you know, you talk about a burger in Israel, it's like this small, no bacon involved. and they took me to a place in Chicago the first night, and I still remember the way that the tomato slice was sitting there, and I was like, this is great. And then they pick you up with a limo. So
I don't know if that still happens, but okay.
I don't know, but this was a moment I said, you know what, this could be fun.
Wow.
So that was my moment.
And you know, I'm always thinking about the Bronx and the people of the Bronx. This is why, and even if your son or daughter doesn't become who these people are, this is why it's so important to give them the experience of music at the age of 12. Now listen, they're not necessarily going to, you know, have them go fly to Europe or something, but you did, and it provides opportunities, and it changed your life.
Yep.
Do you practice every day? Do you need to practice every day?
All right, so you know, the short answer or the long answer. I'll go back to what you were asking, actually, Chihiro, earlier with the resume. And I think that yes, we do have to practice a little bit every day to maintain certain things in the technique.
She's nodding yes.
Yeah, she practices.
Well, I'll get back to her in a second.
But I think that the one thing that is interesting about that resume, more than just showing off names and stuff, it's like we're collecting in the toolbox, in the memory of that computer chip in our brain, so much information that basically reduces, when used properly, reduces the time of the one-on-one with the instrument by ourselves. If I had to spend, I have 2 kids, I have a life, I teach.
She does too.
Yep. So we're not going to have the time to practice 5 hours. So what we develop with that experience, we develop a way to approach our instrument in a smarter way, in a quicker way.
That's a really good way to put it.
And so that's the segue to me asking you the same question. Do you practice?
I'm not able to practice like 5 hours a day, but
Like you used to?
I actually did practice 5 hours
Somehow
a day
I
when
knew
I was
that.
in high school and in college. But back then I was young. I was a teenager, early 20s. My body was able to handle that. And so in a way, we are athletes because we use our body so vigorously in a very awkward way. And
Wait, awkward in what way?
it's not symmetrical. So, for example, if you're playing a violin or a viola, your left hand is holding the instrument, your chin, your jaw is leaning towards the instrument. So your head is, first of all, not straight. And then you have your right arm holding the bow, and you have to go to different levels to go to the different strings. And then you have different strokes, and all that is very taxing on the body. And so
That's fascinating. I had never thought of that and never heard that.
So when you're 20 years old, you can practice 5 hours, 8 hours a day when
Because
you're
you
preparing
can do
for,
all that.
Yeah, when you're preparing for a competition or an audition, whatever the case is. And then hopefully you've practiced enough during those younger years that when you're older, in your 40s, like me and Shmuel are, not to give out too much information. But,
Yeah, they're just so old.
athletes retire in their 30s, and we have to continue to play into our 60s and 70s and sometimes 80s.
Are you a better player now than you used to be?
I would say yes. After
Wow,
all
she hesitated. Fascinating.
all the experience that I've gained.
Because you
over the
can look at the
years.
music and just and really have a sense. And I have to tell you, folks, before folks came in the house, they were kind of rehearsing around, and they just sounded so beautiful. And at one point, I think Shmuel said to you, "Oh, that's an E," and I'm like, "My goodness, who would even notice?" They go, and then get one letter wrong. All right, now I gotta do this. So you both know, my wife Suzanne knows. You invited us to see the Summer for the City Festival Orchestra at Lincoln Center. I hadn't seen a classical concert in a very long time at David Geffen Hall at Lincoln Center. There are great players all around you, okay? Shmuel is the principal violist, and you are like, what do they call it, associate or second?
I was sitting associate that day, but we rotate. So Shmuel sits in the same seat every concert, and I kind of sit in any chair behind him.
Okay, so we watched that show, and I got to tell you, every single, I don't know how many musicians were in that orchestra. Every single musician in that orchestra was amazing. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. Can we measure the distinction between what makes you the principal and you like the other one? It seems to me like I'm not distinguishing. And the same thing when I look at other players. Shmuel, maybe you want to talk about it?
Sure.
Like, what is the difference?
Between a section and a principal, they call it. So with the string sections, that's the violins, the cellos, the basses, and the violas, there is always a section. When we're talking about the winds and the brass, there's always one per part. So we're playing generally, for our section is 6 people, violins I think 8. At the Met we play with more people. You need the body of the sound. It's like in rock recording.
And you think you're better able to, you can be humble about it, you're better able to deliver that than maybe other players.
Sitting first chair, or what are you talking about?
I'm just talking about and I'll tell you the analogy for folks that just put it in plain language. It's like trying to compare Willie Mays and Henry Aaron. I mean, I can't figure out who's better for, one guy had more home runs, the other one was faster. I mean,
So the way it works with orchestra, this is with every orchestra and for us at Festival Orchestra of Lincoln Center, is that they have auditions to get in. All right, so an audition is like a job interview where you play against, and it's usually for one seat, and you can compete against 50 people, against 200 people, and you have a jury of your peers, it's basically 10, 12, whatever members already of the orchestra and the conductor, and they sit and they get to choose which one of those.
It is like a job interview.
It's worse than a job interview in a way, because usually a job interview is not one out of 200.
Do you come in with a prepared piece, or they tell you
Yes.
what to play?
Yeah.
You come in
So
with
there's a list of excerpts of sections that show off your different skills, whether you can play fast, whether you can play rhythmical, where you can play dynamic range, you can play a beautiful sound. So that's, and then they choose a person. The person gets in the orchestra, usually has 2 years of a tenure process. So during those 2 years, you can get get sacked. And yeah.
Chihiro, do you want to respond to that? Because you indicated from the beginning that you like being part of a larger sound,
Yes.
which I'm sure you do too, but she brought it up right away.
So I'd like to address what the difference between the principal and the section player is a little bit. And the audition, Shmuel mentioned audition. So the audition for a principal might entail more solo excerpts, and it would be more competitive probably. And the principal player of a string section comes with a lot of responsibilities, and it's not only about playing the correct notes at the right time. It's about really building the section and for example, in our orchestra.
Manager of a team. I always use baseball analogies.
Exactly. It's like a team, and the principal is usually there for the section members' auditions, and when you're in the section, you want to have people that are able to follow and play together with the principal and be flexible and just be a good team player.
You know, this for me, this is fascinating. You may or may not know. You know, my background is not in this music, but there's really something incredible about the size of the orchestra and being able to do that. I'll ask you both. I'll start with you. What about the conductors? Now, the woman I forgot. Forgive me, I forgot her name. Who was conducting that? Does it matter to you who the conductor is? Does it change? If you know the piece of music and you know how to play it and you can get the dynamics of the music and everything else, does it matter who the conductor is because all of them are energetic? They know what they're doing, or does it change how you approach what you do?
Yes.
It does. I thought that was the case, but I couldn't. I don't understand it.
Absolutely. I've heard people ask the question, do you really need a conductor? And
Well, you need somebody to keep the time. I mean, you know.
well, you have orchestras like Orpheus Chamber Orchestra that plays without a conductor. So it is possible, but I'd like to kind of describe a conductor as an instrumentalist that is playing a whole orchestra. So, for example, so just hang on a minute.
I'm not. You know, we're all here.
So let's say, for example, a pianist, there are dozens of piano makers around the world. And a pianist might say, okay, I love the Yamaha piano the best, or the Steinway the best, whatever it is. And it's because that instrument helps that pianist play their best. And me and Shmuel, we've looked around for our own instruments and get the best. So the conductor comes in, and the music director gets to say, okay, this is how I want the symphony played. And they need to be able to convey the emotional message.
The dynamics of it.
The dynamics, the time, everything. And they need to have that skill to be able to play the orchestra. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. It's amazing to me, again, because of the nuance of the difference between you and him and the nuance of, you know, you could play a piece and I probably would not notice that it wasn't done real well, whereas if you have a conductor raises the level that much, that makes a difference.
Yeah, and there are conductors who are very inspiring and really exciting. And it's really fun to get to have that experience. And we always get to learn something from those conductors.
Shmuel, you want to just respond to the notion of conductors and what role they play?
I think that the first, and this is hard for a lot of people, but the concept of orchestra is not a democratic concept at all. There's always somebody above you, always somebody telling you what.
Even though you're the principal violist.
Yeah, so I can tell Chihiro, oh, can we try this a little softer? Can we do this a little shorter? But I need to answer to the concertmaster, that's the leader of the violins, and he and we all have to, you know, watch the conductor. So a conductor, like Chihiro was saying, there's some conductors that are very inspiring. They don't make a sound. They don't have to actually wave time. Time, we all feel it, and professional musicians generally feel it, but a conductor will take us places with the music that a composer wrote 250 years ago, according to how they perceive the manuscript, you know.
I want to give you a chance to play, and we're going to let people hear. Chihiro told me that you, Shmuel, you arranged the pieces that we're going to hear today?
The first piece,
The
correct.
first piece you arranged, and I will tell you because I saw that you hand wrote the music. Does that take a long time? I can't even write my name anymore because we type it.
Yeah, so during pandemic, we all had, I'm sure, lots of free time, and I made a lot of arrangements, and I don't know how to use the software on the computer, so I was just copying it by hand.
It was fascinating, and it is fascinating to see it handwritten. Who wants to introduce the first piece? Tell us what it is.
I'll do it. It's a jig by Bach that was originally written for the piano as part of his, I think, the English suites. I couldn't tell you the key. I think it's F something.
That's great. That's great. The principal violist couldn't tell us the key. Okay.
Sorry.
If you're asking me to tell you, good luck.
It's okay. But it is one of my arrangements for 2 violas. I made some for 3 violas. It's all piano music that I like to make it. This is back to us musicians playing together. A pianist comes to the keyboard and it's them on their own. And composers can write polyphonic music, meaning music with different voices in it, that they have to, within their one brain, make that into those distinctions. I decided to take some piano music and break it up so I can play with friends.
So this was an arrangement you've made before or something specifically for this program?
No. This, I don't have time, unfortunately, anymore to do these.
Yeah,
But
go
during
home
the
and write
pandemic-
us something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But during the pandemic, I wrote
Okay.
this. And it
We
was
actually,
actually
we actually performed these at Mount Sinai Hospital and also at Lincoln Center, I believe,
but
outdoors
we did a lot
during
of
the
outdoor
pandemic.
concerts. So this was a concert that was for, and it was really interesting. Outside, there's a hospital on the west side, and they have a little garden area. We were not allowed to perform indoors. It was done outside, and there was a raffle between the staff, the hospital employees, doctors, nurses. The 20 people, I think it was allowed, something like 20 people to sit there outside and listen to us play.
Wow.
And it was very, very special.
Because it was really personal.
It was very personal.
So anything else we need to say? Chihiro Allen and Shmuel Katz. Let's take a look and a listen. Well, there was a familiar refrain in there, or a familiar line that I heard throughout it. One thing that was fascinating. Now, your viola is smaller than his.
Yes.
Now, it's been written, and I read it somewhere, that you perform regularly on and what is it called?
Izuka.
Izuka viola, which was owned by your former teacher and mentor. Why that instrument? Because and we'll ask you about yours too.
Yeah.
This wasn't very carelessly selected. You specifically wanted that instrument.
So my old teacher, Michael Tree, was a very famous violist. He passed away a few years ago. And when I was a student at Manhattan School on violin and I needed a viola, he lent me one of his instruments. He had the spare instrument. It was made by this maker. And I absolutely loved it. He's a Japanese American. He's been living here for, 40 years or so. And he lives right outside Philadelphia. And my old teacher, Michael Tree, connected with him, and I got to go there and to try.
But what about that instrument? Was like, this is the one I've got to play.
The tone.
The tone.
The tone, the response, the
And
clarity.
that's based on the wood and the way it's manufactured.
All
You don't
I know
know.
is how to make the sound.
That's beautiful.
We have some colleagues that can tell you about the particular type of wood and this and that, but I own now actually 3 of his instruments, and I am I tried more expensive instruments. I got some loaners, $1 million this, $1 million that, and this one, I
It
can
feels
speak
like
my
home.
voice better.
How do you choose which one to take with you, or that's always the concert?
It's.
She's laughing. I'm not sure why, but we'll find out.
I have one that's a little smaller, that's easier to handle. So, for example, last night we had a concert, and I was thinking, should I get the smaller one or the
He
bigger
had
one?
a big solo last night.
I had a big.
Where was that?
It's a piece by Osvaldo Golihoff.
But where did you play? Where did you play?
Oh, with the festival orchestra.
Oh,
Lincoln
the same
Center in
festival
Geffen.
orchestra, yes, I
we
see.
have 4 concerts a week.
Yes.
4 a week. Wow.
Yeah, 4.
Chihiro, your instrument is smaller. At first, I was like, "Isn't that a violin? It's not quite that small." What about the instrument that you have?
So my instrument was made about 100 years ago in Nice. And I think back then, I might be wrong, but I was told that Nice was part of Italy at the time. Anyway, so the name of the maker is Bianchi. And as like I was mentioning earlier, as you get a little bit older, things get achy when you're trying to perform and practice more. And so I used to have a larger viola, and I was looking for something smaller. The problem with getting a smaller
Just
instrument...
why? Because it's
It's a little bit
better
easier
fit?
physically to hold a smaller
see.
instrument. But the problem is when you go to a smaller instrument, the sound gets a little thinner and there's less sound quality in general. So it's really tricky to find the right instrument. And
The one that can still cut. I remember that's the word we use, cut
Exactly.
through, even though it's a little smaller than, let's say, the one
yeah,
we use.
and also it needs to be a sound that you can connect with. And I think Shmuel was trying to say that he has this really strong connection, the chemistry with that particular instrument. And so, like, we all have different personalities and preferences. I felt a really instant connection with this instrument when I found it a couple
Wow.
years ago.
And so that's the one you own, and that's the one you use all the time?
Yes.
Wow. So let's see. We have a second piece that you're going to play,
Yes.
right? Who's going to introduce that?
Okay, I will.
Chihiro, why don't you introduce it?
What was the name of the piece?
She needs a little help.
We're playing some Bartók duets that are originally composed for 2 violins, and they've been written so 2 violists can play them.
Okay.
So one of the duets is called a teasing song.
Right, so we're going to actually do 2 more.
The 2 short duets.
They are short, yeah.
He wrote a book of 44 different duets. And the thing with Bartók, who actually died in Manhattan, he
Oh,
moved.
I thought you meant down the block here at Artie's on getting seafood on City Island.
Yeah, he choked on the crab. So Bartók wrote a set of 44 duets, and the great thing, this is before the iPhone, before we had all these audio equipment. He lived in Hungary, and he would travel from village to village to collect folk songs, and he put these folk songs in his music. We're talking about, he died in 1945, so about 100-something years ago, 120 years ago, he probably did this. These duets, they all have like little, they're basically taken from local folk.
And you selected them for here because it's fun. This is a fun. These are fun pieces.
And I think that's something that's very easy to follow. So he gave them names, all that kind of corresponds to what's happening in the music. The first song is called a teasing song. And
Teasing?
Teasing. So it's basically 2 kids playing. Chihiro, you will hear this, will start, and then I come in, and we're back and forth, imitating each other,
I
like
see.
2 kids playing. And the second one is called a limping song, and you will hear the accents, the beat, doesn't happen in a regular way to
All right.
make us
Well,
sing like
let's
a
do. We'll do
limp
the second one first. Okay. So here they are. Last time I introduced her first. So this is Shmuel Katz and Chihiro Allen. A little applause, please. And let her rip. they were. It was quick and rhythmic, and I really liked it. I want to just move to something else. You both teach, right? So let's see, Chihiro, you're an instructor for young children. You taught at schools such as Opus 118, the Harlem School of Music, and the Kaufman Center. You have your private studio. You teach at the JCC Tenafly Thurnauer School of Music. What about teaching is in your blood, or that you feel like you have to do?
Actually, I haven't been able to teach since children came my way. I have 2 children, so
It's been a little while.
It's been a little while, but I started out after finishing my master's at Juilliard. I needed to find a way to pay my bills, and
that.
yes, and when you're right out of school, it's hard to find performance gigs enough to make a living. And I started teaching at Opus 118, Harlem School of Music, and I really learned how to teach really young children, set them up on the violin, and start from playing open strings and playing Twinkle, Twinkle
Did it help
Star.
you as a musician? Did you learn something from the experience as a musician?
Very much. And
I knew that would be the answer.
as a musician as a whole too, and some technical stuff, I started thinking about, how can I make this easier for my student? How can I explain this so they can understand?
And even a 7-year-old can understand it, yeah. And again, it reminds you of what you did to get to where you are. All right, Shmuel, faculty of the world-renowned Manhattan School of Music, previously taught on the viola faculty of SUNY Purchase and NYU, given a master class at TON at Bard. Is that what it's called? TON?
The orchestra now is short for that.
Okay, at Bard and at the North Carolina School of the Arts. What about teaching? Now, are you still doing it, or are you too busy?
Yeah. No, I teach only at Manhattan School, and I love that school. That's the school I did my bachelor's and master's. So it feels good to go back to where I started here and give to the kids, and share with them what I learned from all the teachers, all the experiences. I think it's for us musicians, and especially with classical music, that when we read online, we see people saying that the art form is dead. To be able to continue this.
That's a fascinating statement, and that probably we need a whole podcast on that statement.
But yeah, so that I feel that in many ways what we do, whether Chihiro specializes with teaching kids, I generally have patience for just 2 of them that's sitting over there. So I can handle students younger than high school, but I teach in college
Right.
age, and I feel that it's partially a deep weight of responsibility to continue this. But in many ways, like you guys were saying before, I feel like it makes me a better musician. I understand things. I think for all of us, whatever we do, if we explain what we do, I think we get back for ourselves. If you make a recipe and you just read it out loud and explain it, you will cook it better the next time.
And the notion that you raised, I don't want to just leave it behind. The fact that it's not a quote unquote popular form of music, part of, I'm sure, what you do, you want to keep it alive and certainly see younger people enjoy it and appreciate it, and of course learn instruments. I will tell you, I sat in on a rehearsal of the Celia Cruz School of Music Orchestra, and it was just delightful to see young people, in a much smaller room than this, sitting together, 25 kids, playing and doing all that. So then the third piece is the second part of what you had mentioned before. All right, so here we go. Chihiro Allen and Shmuel Katz. Piece number 3. The first time we've done 3 pieces on the Bronx Music Podcast. we're just about the end of the program. I'll ask each of you, is there anything you want to tell us? You wanted to ask me something.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I invited you to
Me
our
and my
concert
wife, Suzanne, right?
Yeah. To the Festival Orchestra of Lincoln Center concert last week. What was your experience like? First of all, how often do you go to classical concerts?
This was the first one in a very, very long time. The last thing I saw at Lincoln Center was the Bobby Sanabria Jazz Orchestra out there on, I think it was in Damrush Park or somewhere, one of the outdoor theaters there. This was an unusual experience. I have many years and many tales of going to rock and roll concerts and other things about the music I worked on. I was blown away by the quality of the players. I watched individual players. Certainly, I watched both of you. They were right in front of the stage. It was easy to see, but the quality of all the players, as I said, I had a hard time distinguishing. But I thought the first violinist was outstanding. You could tell he was really good. So that was one thing, is just the level of play was remarkable. The second thing was I was focused on the conductor, and which is why I asked you those questions. Because she was very active, and some of the stuff I thought was a little bit theatrical. And I was trying to figure out how does that help these guys? They know how to play. And that's why I asked you the question about the conductor. Is there something further you want to ask me about that I didn't respond to? I was also surprised that there were vocalists later on, because I guess that kind of festival broadens it to opera and other forms.
Yes.
So I thought that was interesting. Frankly, I enjoyed the instrumentation and the instruments-only parts a little better. I felt like I was better prepared for it. I didn't need the story. They were telling some story. I didn't need that.
Well, I'm glad that you came and that you enjoyed yourself.
Oh, we had a great time. Suzanne is out here somewhere, and I know there she is back there, and we really did enjoy ourselves.
Yeah, and we would love to see more people come. Everybody in this room today, I hope you come to our concerts.
Okay, so how long is the festival orchestra playing?
We go until August 9th. I believe that's the last concert of this season.
But there's a whole, listen, the Lincoln Center. That was the other thing is, I've been to the main theater. Last time I was indoors at Lincoln Center, I think was when Stevie Wonder did Journey Through the Center of, I forget the name of the album, but he did the whole album, and I was in the music business at the time, so I was invited in. Maybe there were some other times, but I'd never been to that theater, and I loved the fact that there was a theater of that quality that wasn't the main theater. I thought it was great. I was particularly interested in the placement of the microphones, and they had nice balance in the house. I can't even imagine that you needed microphones in the house because the sound was so perfect. You could sing on the stage and you could hear it.
Microphones are not there for the sound, they're for recording only.
Oh, for recording?
Yeah, there's no amplification.
No amplification. Yeah. See, there you go. Did you want to either ask or add anything else?
No, I'm glad that you came, and please, the great thing about this festival is that Lincoln Center got sponsorship to make these basically accessible for everybody with $5 tickets. So we've been having a really, really varied and interesting audience. A lot of children, a lot of young people. It's not what you think of typically of classical music concert audience.
It was a joy to be there, and so we had a great time. And so now that you're on my mailing list, I want to be on your mailing list, and let's find out when else you're playing. So how about a round of applause for Chihiro Allen and Shmuel Katz. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for broadening our understanding of what you do, for entertaining us, and for broadening what is available here in the borough of the Bronx. This is who we are. So thank you again.
Thank you for having us.
There we go. I'm going to, I mentioned to Elliot at the beginning, we have another wonderful show planned. Next month, we do it the first Sunday of every month. Next month, Sunday, September 7th at 5 p.m. this time. So it's going to be kind of an evening show. Judy Torres, the queen of freestyle, is going to be our guest. She's currently on the air at WKTU from 3 to 8 on Sundays, or she was on 3 to 8, and now they moved it earlier so she can get to us at 5 o'clock. She's been a performer and on-air personality at KTU for 17 years and is a legendary freestylist. And the reason I know her and the reason it was easy for me to get her, she was inducted into the Bronx Walk of Fame the same night I was. So when I said to her, hey, you want to come on the podcast? She said, sure. And she confirmed just yesterday that she's going to do it next month. So we'll see everybody there. Listen, we always have people to thank. Our technical director for the Bronx Music Podcast, my buddy DJ Mike. We've now known each other years a little bit, right? But getting on. And he is the CEO and founder of Sounds and Sirens. Jackie is the technical assistant. Always nice to have you with us. The show is edited by George Williams. Our production assistant is Joshua Cruz. And very important, the Bronx Music Podcast is produced through the services of Project Media Zone. If you want more information, if you are a musician and you'd like to join us, send an email, gaxproductions@gmail.com. Thank you all, you folks, for coming. A nice crowd today. And we'll see you around town, right? We love the Bronx. We love music in the Bronx. Take care, everybody.
Bronx deal.